I've got two sets of Narex chisels here. The standard box set that comes in a wooden box, 6 chisels, and the premium Narex chisels, 6 chisels in a leather tool roll. Now both of these box sets of Narex chisels come with 6 different size chisels. They are made in the Czech Republic, so they are in millimeters. There's a 26 millimeters, the largest, 20 millimeters, 16, 12, 10, and 6. So it's a really great range of sizes. And both sets come with those exact same sizes. These standard bench chisels have slightly different handles and a little bit different profile to the chisel itself than the premium version. The standard comes in a wooden box here, and the premium you can get with this leather chisel roll. Again, these handles a little bit different. The profile of the chisel is also a little bit different. So let's go ahead and take a close-up look at both sets of chisels so we can see a close-up of them and also some of the differences between the standard and the premium chisels. So here are the chisels side by side, close-up view. These standard chisels are here on the left. The handle is sort of an elliptical handle with a couple of flat spots, a little ferrule here to protect the wood when you go and use a mallet. And then simple socket. And
said the word socket, but of course these are tang chisels, where the top of the iron is shaped into a tang, which is inserted into the wooden handle.
The back is pretty polished, as you can see. We'll see how flat they are when I go to flatten them, but it looks pretty good here. Lightly covered in oil to protect it from rusting when you first get them. And I'll show you a close-up. The standard and the premium have a little bit different profile to the iron itself. But those are the standard that comes in a boxed wooden box here on the left. And the premium are here on the right. A little bit different shape to the handle. It's a rounded handle. Pretty much the same size, but it's round instead of elliptical. And they come with a nice protector here on the front. And here's the iron itself. A little bit different profile shape to the iron. Nice polished back, again lightly covered in oil when you first get them to protect them from rusting. And in a nice chisel roll here. Here are the two chisels side by side. You take a look at the differences. The handle's a little bit different. The standard handle on the top here is a little bit more elliptical in shape, and the premium is rounded, about the same size, just a little bit different shape. And then coming down to the steel, they're both about 5 inches long. Again, the shape's a little bit different. There's a little bit more bevel to the premium than to the standard. And when I flip them up on their edge, we can take a look at the side profile that clearly shows the premium has a little bit skinnier side than the standard. So you can get in a little bit tighter corners with that premium there on the bottom profile, a little bit skinnier edge than the standard chisel. Now, as with any new tool that you bring into the shop, you first want to set that tool up. For chisels and plane irons, that process is to really hone and sharpen those chisels before we put them into use. Now, these come from the factory in pretty good shape. The back is actually fairly polished, and they're definitely pretty sharp. You can easily cut yourself, but I want to hone them even further and definitely make sure they're ready to go, nice and sharp, before I put them into use. I'm not going to go through all of those steps. There's a variety of ways to set up, sharpen a brand new chisel. But briefly, you do want to flatten the back, make sure it's really highly polished, nice and flat all the way to the front. And then, of course, hone the bevel side, sharpen and hone it to pretty high grit so you get a really, really nice sharp edge where the back and the bevel meet. So I'll quickly go through that process without going into too much detail, but I'll show you the highlights of how I do that in my shop. And then we'll go ahead and put these to use and see how they cut. Now, for setting up my brand new Narex chisels, I first want to flatten and polish the back so that I know I have a nice flat, perfectly flat back. I use Morton Waterstones for that. I've got a 220 and 1000 combo, and then a 4000, 8000 combo. So I'll go ahead and start usually at the 1000 and start flattening the back, and then hone that on the 4000 and 8000 to get a nice polish. Now these Narex chisels come with a 25-degree angle. And so I've set my rest here for the grinder at 25 degrees, and we'll go ahead and hollow grind the front bevel. I've now finished the grinding on this chisel, and honestly that only took about 30 to 60 seconds. And you can see the markings left by the grinder there on the front, and the fact that it's a little bit concave now, it's no longer flat, and that'll help us with our freehand honing. Now that I've got the hollow grind on the chisel, I'm going to go ahead and start sharpening it, starting with a 1000 grit stone. Freehand hone, just a little force on the front, find the right angle, support the chisel with the rest of the other hand, and just pull it back. You know, about 4 to 5 strokes, maybe a few more depending on how well I did the grinding. And the front of this is going to get polished quickly all the way across. And then I'll move up the grits, starting with 1000, then go 4000 and 8000. And a couple of strops here for a final polish. Of course, I like to test how sharp my chisel is now that I've honed it. A simple way that I like to do is to grab a piece of paper and that edge and just go ahead and make a slice. This here is straight from the factory, haven't touched it, and let's go ahead and check out how sharp that is. Not too bad. You can feel it and hear it tearing a little bit versus slicing. And the edge it's leaving, you know, is a little bit rough there on the paper. And now let me go ahead and grab the chisel that we've just honed here, front and back, and go ahead and slice the paper with this one. Now you can hear and feel and see just how smooth that is. That's nice and sharp. But of course, who really cares how it cuts paper? Let's cut some wood. This is end grain on pine, another great test for how sharp your chisel is. Again, this is straight from the factory, this chisel here, and I'll slice this end grain. And you can feel it and hear it tearing the fibers a little bit more and leaving a cloudy finish. I've cut this little section right up here. You can see it's a little more cloudy, and you can see some of the grain splitting apart right in here. Versus the chisel that we just sharpened. Let me go ahead and slice that same end grain. Now you can see a very clear, smooth finish across there. It's gone from cloudy to dark and no longer tearing those fibers, but slicing and cutting them cleanly. So we can get a great, highly polished, sharp edge on these chisels. How do they hold up? Well, I found they held up pretty well. Pretty much as any standard chisel. I'll take it back after using it for, you know, depending on how heavy, maybe 5 minutes or so, 10 minutes. You know, go ahead and strop it again. Maybe go back to that high grit stone and just polish it up again. It doesn't hold quite as long as some of my other really expensive chisels, but these are really fast to polish. So I can just take it back, a few strokes on the water stone or on the strop, and I'm ready to go again. As to the difference in shape between the premium and the standard set of chisels, they're both pretty similar. I actually sort of prefer the standard ones, the elliptical handle. It tapers in here right in this area, which I find great for paring. I'm getting a nice positive grip with my fingers in that little indentation. The round of the premium doesn't quite have that. It's a little further back than where I want to hold it. And so I sort of prefer this one. Also, these ones have a finish on the handle that's keeping them more clean. It's not really waxy. It's a little bit slippery finish. You might want to rub it off just a little bit if you find it's a little slippery. I haven't found that really, but it keeps them nice and clean. I've been using this one around the shop without a problem. This one doesn't have quite the finish on it, It's a little grippier in the wood because there isn't any finish, but it also is getting kind of marked up. I use water stones, so some water's getting on there. It's kind of dulling it or whatever, so not really a big deal, but definitely you can take note of that. So I haven't noticed a huge difference between the two using them. I prefer the standard chisels a little bit more. The elliptical shape fits my hand pretty well. I do a lot of paring, and so that shape I find to be a little more comfortable for that. The other thing I've noticed when working with these chisels is when I'm doing chopping this way, the handles are pretty top heavy. They're pretty beefy handles, and so they tend to be a little top heavy when I'm pounding mortises or whatever in this direction, versus say one of my premium chisels here. You can see the handle is thinner and lighter, and the steel is actually a little bit thicker in this premium chisel, so it tends to register a little easier and for me to hold it and chop out some mortises, versus these ones just a little bit top heavy. Just something I noticed as I was using these chisels. The other thing I noticed, I just talked about versus my premium chisel here on the bottom, is the thickness of the steel. So you can see here's the Narex Premium, and you can see about how thick it is here versus this high-end chisel I have here, how thick that steel is, which just gives it a nice weight, especially for pounding out mortises. And also you can see, make out how thin the edges of the premium chisel, my premium chisel, versus the Narex. Even the premium Narex has a little bit wider edge right along here, where you're going to be getting into dovetails or whatever. You can see that edge is about 1/16 of an inch or so, versus this expensive premium chisel down here tapers away to just about nothing for really reaching into those corners. So I've been using these bench chisels around my shop now for a while, and honestly haven't had any problems with them and really enjoyed using them. You saw how easy it was to get them set up from the factory. I didn't have any issues with the back. I only flattened and polished the front 1/2 inch or so. It wasn't an issue for any of the ones that I did. And then of course honing the front. It was fast and easy to do and easy to maintain. I didn't notice too much difference between using the premium set and the standard set. The handle shape's a little different. The shape of the iron's a little bit different, but honestly, for 95% of the work that I do, I didn't really notice that much of a difference. The range of sizes I think is a great starter set. The only thing I use different than this range of sizes is an even smaller one for really detailed work, and an even wider one when I really want to do a long mortise or something like that. Other than that, this covers a majority of the work. Now, I think that this kind of set is a great starter set because it's really affordable to get this whole set of chisels, and they've worked really well in my shop. And they'll never become not useful for you. Even if you decide in the future to upgrade to some really premium chisels, you will still make use of these chisels. I have 2 to 3 sets of chisels in my shop that I use for a variety of tasks. So a set like this, you really can't go wrong. It's a great starter set for getting going. You need different sizes of chisels for working around the bench, and this gives you that right out of the box, and they will always be useful in your shop.